Hey, sports card fans, it's John, Boggs fan. Hope you're all doing well. Of all the cards I have picked up so far on my 100 vintage baseball cards for $10,000 list, I think I am the most excited about my most recent pickup. When I put the list together, the first two cards that made the list were the 1977 Topps Thurman Munson and the 1973 Topps Thurman Munson. Those were the last two cards that I needed to complete his Topps playing day run. And those were the two hardest for me to find copies that had the right eye appeal to me and the right price point. For the 1977 card, I saw so many cards that were off center, or if they were well centered, they had black ink streaks on them. The only ones that I would find were PSA 8s or PSA 9s, and I didn't want to pay that price for the 1977 Topps card. Well, turns out I was able to pick up a copy in a lower grade that had the centering, very little to none, if I recall, of the ink marks on the card, and it was the first card that I picked up off of my list. So that left the 1973 Topps card. And finally, I spotted an auction on eBay, and as soon as I saw the front of the card, I took a bit of a gamble on it, and I'll explain later when I show off the card. I took a little bit of a gamble, but based on the front of the card, I said, I'm going to go after this card. And I paid pretty close to what the cost was that I thought I would have to pay. So this one I didn't save a whole lot of money on, but it was the right copy for me, and I am so happy to finally pick up the 1973 Topps Thurman Munson, card number 24 on my list of 100 vintage baseball cards for $10,000. So I'm going to turn the camera around and show it off. And here it is. Finally, the 1973 Topps Thurman Munson, completing my playing days run. This is a PSA 7 copy. Check out the centering on that card. I don't know if any of you have the 73 Thurman Munson, or for that matter, a lot of 73s just seem to be really hard to find off center unless you get really high grades. Now, again, this is a PSA 7, and that's the grade that I had it on my list. I hadn't really anticipated on picking up a PSA 7, but again, when I saw this listing, I knew I had to go after it. Well, I had a little bit of concern, and the concern I had was this was a Probstein auction. Now, I know I think they're the largest seller on eBay now, and I don't know if maybe it's because of the volume, but I've been noticing lately, I've won some cards from Probstein before in the past, and for a lot of their auctions, they would show a picture of the front and back of the card. Now, I don't know, again, if it's just because of volume or whatever, but they did not have a picture of the back of the card. And as you know, for 73 Topps cards, you could get a card that's well centered on the front, but really off center on the back. And I sent a message to Probstein like 3 or 4 days prior to the end of the auction, asking for a picture of the back of the card. And they did not send me one, or they did not add one to the listing. So I went into it blind. Now, the back of the card, the centering of the back is not as important to me, but with 73s, some of them look really bad. And so I was hoping the fact that this was a PSA 7, that, you know, if it was a PSA 5, this well centered, maybe issues, you know, slight issues with the corners, more often than not, the back would be off center or too off center for me, because I've seen plenty of copies. Trust me, I've been searching for this 73 Topps card for well over a year, if not longer. and just could not find the right copy, or I'd see a copy like this and it was a buy it now for way above comps. And so I took a gamble, knowing that it was Probstein. They have, their listings, they have great cards that they list. And it was a PSA 7. So I was crossing my fingers that the back was well centered. And so when I received the card, and if you received cards from Probstein, you know that they bubble wrap that thing like it's some ancient artifact. I mean, they do a great job in wrapping and protecting the cards. And so I wanted to open it up in a way that I couldn't see the back. And so I opened the card and looked at the front and then turned it over. It's not perfect, but man, was I so happy that it's maybe a little diamond centering, but I've seen so many copies where the right edge, like you can barely see any black. I was so happy with the centering of this. Again, it didn't need to be perfect like the front, but the combination of the two, I am so happy to finally own this card in the condition that I have been looking for. And I happen to think it is one of his nicest looking cards. Again, you don't see his face, but just that catching stance, and then the way the photographer blurred out the background. I think this was somewhat common in the 73 set. I think another famous example is the Steve Garvey card, where the fans in the back have that sort of blurry effect to it. Just love the look of this card. And again, just so happy to finally pick it up. All right, so I'm going to go into the numbers now, and then I have two other cards I want to show off of Thurman Munson here. So in this, well, I'll put the card back here. Oh, there's one thing that I'm a little disappointed on. It's not a big deal. So you probably can't tell, showing this card off here on the camera, of the slight little issue. It's not with the card, it's with the holder. I think if I do, yeah, right there, the holder has a scratch going from his chest all the way up to the top of the card. And then down at the catcher here, there's another scratch in the card. Now, again, it's only if you're looking at it at a certain angle when the light hits it. You can't tell if looking straight at the card. But it was just, if anything, that was just any slight disappointment. I noticed that, and I know there's some stuff I can probably get that would maybe get rid of that scratch in the case. But really, that is the only thing. And it has nothing to do with the card itself. Okay, so I did want to mention that. And I'm not saying that's anything with Probstein. That's how, I'm sure that's how the card was assigned to them with that case. All right, so let's get into the numbers quick, and I want to show off two other cards here and ask a question of you. So I did have this card on my list in a PSA 7, and I thought I would have to, if I got a pretty good deal, I'd probably have to spend $85, or I would hope to not have to spend more than $85 to pick up a PSA 7. Well, obviously I picked up a PSA 7, and my all-in cost, again, including shipping and tax, was $65. So I saved $20. Not the greatest savings. There have been other cards on my list where I've saved a lot of money by dropping down a grade or even two, and saved a lot of money off of what I thought I would have to spend to pick up the card. So picking this up and saving $20, getting that great looking card, I am really happy with it. All right. Now, in terms of the PSA 7 prices, and to see how well I did just picking up a PSA 7, on the low end, I think the lowest recent sale was $42. The average is $66, and on the high end, $90. So the average was 66, not including shipping and tax, and I'm in for 65, including shipping and tax. So the actual purchase price for me, I got it below the average for a PSA 7. So again, for me, that is a big win. So far, with 24 cards that I have picked up, I thought for the grade that I had listed them on the list, I thought I would have to spend $2,155 to pick up those 24 cards. I have only spent $1,175 for a savings of $980. So I continue to do well in saving money from what I thought I would need to spend for cards. Again, this one wasn't a huge savings, but still, with everything, the price I paid, the condition of the front of the card, the great seeing the back of the card and knowing that I got a really nice fairly well centered back on this card, I am just so happy. And again, it's the last card I needed to complete my Thurman Munson run. I'm going to be doing a tabletop showcase showing off my Topps run of Thurman Munson here possibly next week. So stay tuned for that. But before I end, I had mentioned that I think this is one of his nicest cards. Well, there are two other cards that I would put in that list, sort of his top three. Again, he only had 10, unfortunately, due to his untimely death. Only 10 cards in his Topps run. His most famous, popular, obviously, is his 71 Topps card. And I have this one in a PSA 5. Again, it's not perfectly centered left to right. That's where you pretty much see the centering issues. It's not so much top to bottom, but the left to right. And more often than not, the right side, it tends to be the thinnest. So this one has a fairly decent right side border. So happy with this pickup. So that's, again, a very popular, maybe even his most popular. Let me move this over here a little bit. His most popular Topps card. But another one of my favorites is his 1978. Just, again, love that image of him in full catcher's gear. Obviously, some play has just ended. He has his mask off in his hand. Just a really cool image. And of course, I'm a big fan of the 78 Topps design. Have this one in a PSA 8. So my question to all of you is, of these three Thurman Munson cards, let's see if I can get everything into the picture here. There we go. All right. Of these three Thurman Munson cards, which one is your favorite? Or if there's one that is not one of these three, let me know in the comments which one is your favorite Thurman Munson card. And with that, that's all I have for you. So until next time, thanks for watching.